welcome to Guardian Talks. My name is Fadima Rachel, and today we'll be having a very interesting conversation on the suspension of the naira-for-crude policy. Recall in October 2024, the federal government of Nigeria introduced the naira-for-crude policy in order to enable local refineries to buy crude in naira, which in turn will boost the foreign exchange rate of our currency and also reduce the reliance on foreign oil products. However, in March 2025, the Dangote Refinery stated that it would no longer be running its operations under the naira-for-crude policy. And why is that? Because there seems to be an apparent mismatch in buying crude in dollars and earning revenue in naira. In response to this, the spokesperson of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Mr. Olufemi Soneye, denies that the naira-for-crude policy has been suspended. In his words, the naira-for-crude policy is still very much active, and NNPCL has been supplying oil products to Dangote. With this drama going back and forth between the NNPCL and Dangote, what does the average Nigerian stand to gain or lose in all of this? Could the recent hike in fuel price be as a result of this halt in operation by the Dangote Refinery? Joining us live to discuss this section is a business editor at The Guardian, Mr. Jeff Iyase. Thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Richard.
Now, to begin with this back and forth going on between the NNPCL and Dangote, can you give us a candid opinion of this whole issue?
I want to believe that we are going to get over this phase. And I believe so much that this policy was timely and this policy was very necessary. It tried to resolve the issues around FX crisis and petroleum products. Well, it is important we need to situate the crisis properly. You will understand that but much of our spending, of our FX spending, is on refined products. When I mean refined products, we're talking about PMS, we talk about diesel, and other byproduct of crude. So that puts a lot of pressure on the demand for FX. So I think it was on this basis that the government came up with what it called naira-for-crude. You will understand that globally, the business of petroleum is dollarized. If you're buying, your spending is $1. You are also, in most cases, selling $1. But because we were able to have some of our local refinery producers starting from last year, the government, in its own wisdom, you will understand that last year was a tough year for this industry. It was tough. We had a back and forth of products with sub-products rising from around, I think, about 460 or thereabout to well over 1,000. There was so much uncertainty too. There were so much issues in the market. There were also a lot of disruption in the supply chain. So the government came up with this. And what was it supposed to do? One, it was supposed to reduce pressure on FX. This is how it was supposed to work. Instead of Dangote or other refinery buy products in dollar, the government will sell to them in naira. They will also have obligation to sell to NNPC and other marketers in naira too, a local currency. In that way, you are reducing the pressure on FX. You're also reducing the demand on FX. Imagine that Dangote, with its operation, if Dangote is producing at full capacity today, that refinery is 650,000 barrels per day. I think it's currently doing about 400,000. So imagine that Dangote is going to buy 400,000 barrels of oil, of crude, $1. How much would they need to source from the market? It means that Dangote's demand alone will have a huge impact on the demand, which will be which is going to create a lot of distortion in the market. So these were some of the crises the government, working through NNPC, was trying to resolve. But what we have today, I'm not sure it's so special. And again, this also comes When we say the government does not communicate clearly, this is a typical case of government not coming out as at when due. I mean, when not coming out at the right time to communicate its intention. This program started October.
Yes.
So it headed last month. Why has the government not come out hopefully to say we have renewed this program or we are not renewing it? That creates a lot of uncertainty. But in any case, it's a good program, even though a lot of us still believe, a lot of people still believe that the government could do much more to address the crisis in the FX markets. I believe the way to, because this still fall on the demand approach to FX management. Government could have done a lot of things, could have done a lot in terms of policy to open up the processing, to open up the industrial space so that Nigeria will be able to produce a lot of the things we import. In that case, the scarcity around FX will reduce. Or we also add value. We try to invest in processing, invest in exports, invest in export programs so that we'll be able to export much more than we are currently exporting and be able to earn dollar. Because if you interrogate the policy in itself, if you interrogate the naira-for-crude policy in itself, it's not a magic wand to the crisis we have in FX. While you are creating opportunity for refinery operators to buy crude from you in local currency, that in a way is also deny you the opportunity of earning more in terms of FX. Because what you said to Dangote and other refinery in local currency, you cannot have earn FX or dollar on it. So it's going to reduce your earning in FX, while it also reduces the demand for FX. It's more or less like an equation. It now depends on where you are losing more and where you are gaining more. That will determine whether the policy itself has a net positive or the FX supply, so to say. We read a report from SIP Global that from the beginning of the year to date, Dangote has been able to scale up to 400,000 barrels per day. Out of the 400,000 it produced per day, he import about 35%. It doesn't pay naira on those feedstock he import or the crude. He pay in dollar, he pay in FX. And what the guy is saying is that if he supply, assuming that he supply only Nigerian markets, and he sells all his finished products in naira, how does he get dollar to pay for his international obligation? So this is where the mismatch is. To get dollar to pay for this, he also need to earn much of his revenue, or at least a large chunk of his revenue need to come in dollar, not just naira. This is where the mismatch is. He's a businessman. If I were in his shoe, that is what I would do. I'm not going to do anything different. The only way we can get Dangote as of today, the only way we can get Dangote to produce and sell 100% in naira, in local currency, is to supply 100% of his feedstock. And we also need to charge him in naira, not dollar. And even at that, he will still need a significant proportion of his revenue to come in dollar to be able to pay. Because don't forget that crude is just part of the operation. Crude purchase is just part of his procurement. There are other procurement he makes, which are also in foreign currency. You need to pay for some of those procurements.
All right, so Mr. Yase, one of the reasons the naira-for-crude policy was introduced was so as to strengthen the naira. Can you explain to us the whole dynamics of that, and why was this policy considered as a game changer?
Okay, thank you. It's a game changer for one or two reasons. Number one, it is supposed to stimulate local refining, because If you are going to be refining locally, one of the challenges you're going to face is your ability or inability to source for feedstock. Last year or last 2 years, last year when Dangote just took off, there were reports that it was having issue with getting crude. And there were also reports that it was importing much of the crude it was using from different parts of the world. That comes with a lot of constraint. That comes with a lot of logistic constraint. That comes in form of currency sourcing constraint, FS constraint, and a lot of other challenges. So, if we have a policy that was supposed to address some of these constraints, for me, it's a game changer. And it was also supposed to reduce pressure on FX demand. We have quite a lot of activities ongoing where at the midstream refinery, a lot of refineries, modular refinery, and the rest of them are coming up. They are all going to be demanding for FX. But if you have a policy that says, guys, you can get your crude, you can get which is your major raw material for refinery, to run a refinery. If you can get this crude and pay a local currency, which you are going to sell, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because you are not going to, on a daily basis, you are not going to be running to FX market to look to source for dollar. And don't forget that dollar is, as I earlier said, dollar is not readily available for you. It also means that you will not be sourcing for dollar. That is number one. Then number two, there is no crisis of conversion. You earn your income or your revenue in naira, straight away you are able to pay for your crude. That makes the system, that makes the process very seamless. So the demand, that is where that is where we are supposed to have the major benefit as a country. That we are not going to have much demand coming from this critical sector of the economy, which is petroleum. We are not going to have much demand coming from refinery. But the challenge we've had is, before this policy was initiated, the government was committed, had a lot of committed to foreign partners. Some of the crude we produce were already tied to some laws. It therefore means that it was difficult for the government to be able to get crude, for NNPC to be able to get crude for the refineries, to be able to get crude for the refinery to pay in naira. Apart from that, there were also petty commitment, FS commitment, that we were supposed to service, that we were supposed to fulfill using the crude, using the honey we get from oil. Those also became a challenge. Before he also began to also recalibrate his marketing process to say, I can no longer sell in naira anymore. I have an obligation to fulfill. And that was what he just did. Yes, it's a game changer, but like I said, we are discussing, naira-for-crude. But if we're looking at the whole spectrum of FX market, there are a lot of things we could do. How much effort are we putting to increasing our supply?
Now, crude is considered as one of the major forex earner in Nigeria. Now that Dangote is moving away from selling crude products in naira, how does this affect the value, the exchange rate system of our currency?
I think there's a misunderstanding. The decision Dangote took, I think, it was a response to the current reality. That reality might change tomorrow. Imagine how Dangote will receive a decision by the government today to say, whatever you need to supply, whatever you need to refine or to run your refinery, we're going to provide, we're going to supply. And you pay NNPCL or whoever you're going to pay in naira. I'm sure that decision will change. It will also mean that Dangote will be able to refine, and he will be able to send to Nigeria in naira. And possibly, if he's able to meet the local market, whatever is left, he can also export. And when he exports, he earns foreign currency. And that also comes to Nigeria as an injection. It comes to our FX, it comes to our account as an injection. That would be positive for the market. And I also don't think that the government will not want to continue with this. Perhaps, of course, we are all old enough to know that this is the way the government, Nigerian government, unfortunately, this is the way we work. We wait till things are a bit late before we take decision. Or we wait till people begin to make demand before we respond. I'm sure in a matter of days or weeks, we are going to hear a definite policy pronouncement from the government. I'd also forget that we have a new leadership at NNPC Limited, which assumed office today. And I'm sure this could be one of the major policy, one of the major issue the new group managing director is going to respond to. I have no doubt that we are going to hear from him very soon on this. But perhaps if the situation continues and Dangote continue to sell its product in naira, it means that most of the marketers that buy from him will have to source for FX. We have to source for dollar from perhaps from the official market or even from the black market. And that will mean a lot of pressure on the market too. It could also mean that naira is going to continue to lose value, it's going to continue to depreciate, which could also translate to higher prices through feeding effect. It could also mean higher prices of products.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry to butt into your line of thought. Now, you said something earlier in our conversation. You said that there seems to be like the government is backstepping from the policy. Would you consider this as political?
There's a strong link between whatever we do at politics. And don't forget, and that is the issue I have with the former GMD of NNPC. Because last year we've seen him politicize a lot of the policies, a lot of issues. We've also witnessed a lot of confrontation between the NNPC in his time, between NNPC and Dangote. Not holding fault for anybody, but as a regulator, you need to be extremely professional. If you're not professional, much of the decisions you're taking, much of the policies, perhaps, are not going to have the desired result. And if you need investors or you need the market to have confidence in you, to have confidence in the sector, you need to be very professional. I may not be able to say with certainty that this is political. Perhaps we just give the government the benefit of doubt. But I think whatever be the case, the government is too slow in responding to this. If those issues, which are the baseline of all of these discussions, are political, that Dangote openly cry out that the cabals, the oil cartel were after him and all of that, what gives us, why should we doubt that this is not also political?
All right, that was quite deep. Finally, Nigerians out there, our audience out there, they'll be thinking in their minds that, how does this policy affect the average Nigerian in terms of prices of foods and services, transport, and what have you? How does it affect the average Nigerian?
It's going to affect us in different ways. Well, historically, we've known that the prices of the petroleum products are like falling knives on Nigerians, every Nigerian. Each time the prices go up, it's like you are stabbed. You are stabbed because you are going to pay more for transport fare. You are stabbed because you're going to, once prices of transport goes up, the prices of food in the market will also go up, because the woman selling in my two market will tell you that I brought this, I pay transportation to bring these items to the market. It's going to charge more. If this crisis also continue, we are going to see perhaps the price of diesel and PMS might go up. We might see price of PMS going up to about 1,002, which we saw last year. Of course, since Dangote made that announcement, we have seen prices increase by close to 100 naira. What does that tell you? It's a pointer to what we're going to see if we don't resolve this. And what's the prices of, because there's a strong correlation between the prices of petroleum products and general prices in the market. Once the prices of petroleum products is going up, of course the cost of production will go up, the cost of movement of logistics, the cost of haulage will go up, and the prices of items, general prices of items will go up. Then you begin to talk about inflation. Except we address it and address it now with dispatch, you are going to see the ripple effect across board on inflation, especially the prices of food, prices of transport. And once price of food and transport are going up, sooner or later, it will begin to feed into other items.
Wow, this has been such an insightful conversation. You would all agree with me that this suspension of the naira-for-crude policy is not just about fuel. It's about the struggles of an average Nigerian out there. Trust me, this conversation does not just end right now. You can head over to our website at guardian.ng or follow us across all social platforms at guardian.ng to continue this conversation. This topic has been tackled with me with the business editor at The Guardian, Mr. Jeff Iyasi. Once again, Mr. Jeff, thank you for gracing our studio with your presence.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. My pleasure.
Like, come your way next time. I remain Fadimo Rachel. Bye for now.